Hi everyone, and welcome to the round 2 video from the Corus chess tournament 2010. There were 3 wins in the round. Alexei Shirov beat Fabiano Caruana to take sole lead in the tournament with 2 out of 2. Magnus Carlsen beat Jan Smeets in a sharp Botvinnik variation of the Slav defense, but the game of the round went to Hikaru Nakamura, who silenced his critics with a fine victory against Loek van Wely, and that's the game I chose for this video. If you don't know Nakamura already, he's the present US champion. Originally he's from Japan, but he moved to America when he was 2, some 20 years ago. It's fair to say that we can expect a lot from him in the future. He's a well-known player, especially for his blitz and bullet ability, and is often playing online. His attacking style is sometimes criticized as being impatient, but it often results in brilliant wins. Some people were of the opinion that he wouldn't be able to hold his own at the Corus tournament, but now he's tied for second and has certainly proved that he's a force to be reckoned with at the highest levels. He had white in this game anyway and opened with e4, to which Van Wely answered c5, the notorious Sicilian defense, which is the main reason why white scores better with d4 as his first move as opposed to e4. Play continued with the book line, knight f3, d6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, and a6, the Najdorf variation, which, as I said before, is the sharpest and most dynamic opening ever developed in all chess theory. Play continued with bishop g5, e6, and f4, which is all still book, and as we've seen in previous videos, either bishop e7 or queen b6 is popular for black here. Van Wely, however, elected for knight b d7, which inhibits white from playing e5, which is the threat created with his last move, f4, and also prepares a later knight c5, which is a good square for the knight, especially because it will be pressurizing the pawn here on e4, which is what a lot of black's play revolves around in the Najdorf, in the opening anyway, generally speaking. So play continued queen f3 and queen c7, which stops bishop c4 and allows for activity down the semi-open c-file, which is one of black's assets in the Sicilian. So bishop takes f6, giving up the bishop pair, which is slightly controversial, but this is all still known theory. Now knight takes f6 and g4, immediately starting the typical Sicilian pawn storm in a similar fashion to the Fischer-Reshevsky game I covered in the most recent series. And Van Wely followed suit with b5, which is a little bit offbeat according to Nakamura in the analysis he did after the game. And it would have perhaps been more prudent to play bishop e7 and get castled before starting this queenside expansion, but Van Wely was probably already feeling the pressure. So g5, knight d7, now Nakamura castled, long, as is fairly common in Sicilian for white, and now knight c5, which is the last book move of the game. White is slightly better developed, although black has a stronger pawn center and the bishop pair. And Nakamura now played a prophylactic move against the threat of b4, just knocking this knight around. So he played a3, and after rook b8, renewing that threat, he played b4, surprising everyone because it's against general principles to move your kingside pawns in an opposite sides castling situation. However, he explained after the game that he'd prepared this line before the round, and Van Wely retreated the knight to d7, and one line that Nakamura said he had prepared was if black had played knight a4 instead, which isn't an unfeasible move, because despite the doubled pawns after knight takes a4, the open b-file would be great for black to use for attack. However, here white has knight c takes b5, and after a takes b5, bishop takes b5 check. But here Fritz gives a good edge to black with bishop d7, and it seems impossible that Nakamura missed this line in his preparation, and also it seems strange that he would reveal this preparation at all, seeing as Van Wely didn't play knight a4 in the game. So perhaps it's a trap that he's putting out there in the hope that a later opponent will play this line against him, in which case he'll reveal his real preparation. In any case, the line he gives here, instead of bishop d7, is rook takes b5, and now white does get an advantage. After knight takes b5, queen b6, now queen d3 to defend the knight from the queen, and bishop d7 attacks the knight again. But now knight takes d6 check is good, especially after bishop takes d6 and rook d2, instead of routinely recapturing, because the bishop is pinned now and there's no further way to defend it. If it moves, then the bishop at d7 is falling, and white can follow up with rook hd1, and he gets a good edge overall in the game continuation. But anyway, back to the actual game. After b4, Van Wely played knight d7, and now came knight d5 from Nakamura, an incredible continuation. And whether this is preparation as well is unclear. It was hard to break through the black defense with the pawns here, the central pawns. If white had played e5, then black can answer with d5, or if white plays f5, then e5, and things remain pretty solid, and this sacrifice opens a direct route to the black king down the e-file, and also creates an outpost square at c6, while solving the problem of the pressure that the queen was exerting on the knight when it was at c3. You know, the white queen is tied to defending it. Although it comes at a reasonably high price, and Fritz doesn't recommend this move at all, but gives only a small edge to black after e takes d5 and e takes d5. The evaluation is very slightly in black's favour. It's so little, in fact, that the position could almost be called even. And after Van Wely's next move, bishop e7, rook e1, traps the black king in the centre, as it's tied to defending the bishop here on e7. And white can follow up with knight c6 in good overall pressure and initiative, which compensates fully for the lost material. Van Wely now elected to give back the material and relieve the pressure on his position right away with knight e5, but this gives white a big edge overall. Fritz preferred king f8, giving the line knight c6, bishop b7, knight takes b8, and queen takes b8, with a very small edge to white. And Nakamura gave an alternative defense after the game. Instead of knight e5, knight b6, where the line he gave goes knight c6, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, bishop e6, queen g2, and rook c8, where he explained that he wasn't sure what the evaluation would have been, but was willing to play this line if Van Wely had elected to go into it. Fritz gives white a small edge overall after knight takes e7. But anyway, back to the game continuation. Knight e5 is what Van Wely played. So now comes, of course, f takes e5, and now bishop takes g5 check, resulting in material equality after king b1 and d takes e5. But now comes knight c6, which is a very nice outpost for the knight that apparently comes with tempo, thanks to the attack on the rook at b8, and thus wins the pawn here at e5. However, Van Wely chose to give up the exchange in order to be rid of this powerful knight here on c6, and played bishop f6. But Nakamura declined the rook, choosing instead to maintain his strong knight here on c6, and played instead bishop d3, which Fritz didn't like, now having the opinion that black is in fact slightly better. And it's a case really of an engine going for material, because the line that Fritz gave for black to keep an advantage was knight takes b8. Now to queen takes b8, rook d1, with a good edge to white, about a pawn up, objectively speaking, at the moment, although black's bishops, especially his dark squared bishop, are going to be strong, and he has a 4-1 pawn majority on the king's side, so it would have been sharp and interesting. And the reason that Nakamura didn't play this line, despite planning to originally, was because instead of rook d1, he was going to play bishop d3, but when calculating, he came to the conclusion that after king e7 followed up with queen d6 and bishop b7, he thought he could be considerably worse, so he didn't go down that line, and instead played bishop d3. Okay, that's the end of part 1.